She has a vast background in social works and community development, and I'm glad that she is here to shed some light what's going on in Kenya and to give us some insights what we can do.
Thank you very much. So good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you. So my name is Leah Nyalobo. As introduced there, I'm the founder and director of LEC Community Organization. LEC is an abbreviation of Legacy Education Center. Rationale and scope. Why women and why Busia and Mathare? In Kenya, we have 47 counties, and Mathare is in Nairobi. Nairobi is our capital city of Kenya, and then we have Busia. So the question is, why women? Why women? Because I am a woman and a survivor of gender-based violence. My mother is also a survivor of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is quite broad, but I happen to be a survivor of, I was sexually assaulted when I was at the age of 10 years. I became a child headed when I was at the age of 12 years because my mother had to go and fend for us because we were abandoned by my dad because the brother that I happened to follow was epileptic. And from the community that I come from, when you have a child with such condition, you are considered cursed. So my family was really isolated. Even in school, I remember I used to sit in a certain corner because no one wants to associate with me. Same to my siblings when I was growing up. So my mother said, let me go to Nairobi, which was the capital city, and look for a job so that I can be sending you money to sustain yourself. So my brother was older than me, but he was epileptic. So there's nothing that he could do. So I was there to support him and my other 5 siblings to pass on. So my mother went for a year, no phones, no coming, Leah hustling for the children, for the others. I was a mother by 12 because they were even calling me mama. Because I go to school, I come back, we lock our brother in the house because he was not going to school, he couldn't go to school. We lock him in the house. At lunchtime we come back, I cook some porridge when there is flour. Because no one, when you go to the neighbors to ask for something to cook, they ask you, you're borrowing. Where are you going to get and return back? So we survived 1 year. The second year, Mama came back and we were so happy like Mom is back. So she came back with Kenya shillings, 1,000. You can calculate how much is that in euros. And she said, yeah, look what I found. After 1.5 years, I was already a mother to my brothers and sisters. And here I say, Mama, I think today I've finished my class 8. We have primary school and then high school. So I had done my class 8. And I said, Mama, I want to go to school. I want to go to school because there's a teacher that told me that education is key to success. So when you want to run away from poverty, you need to go to school. So Mama, I need to go to high school. And she said, I don't have money. I said, Mama, I will go to my father in Nairobi. I will look for him so that he can take me to school. So that is what I did. My mother talked to a neighbor and a pickup, we call it pickups. And I jumped into that pickup. We traveled 350 kilometers to Nairobi. I found my way to where my dad was. My dad had remarried because of the social pressure that you have to remarry because your first wife is a cursed wife. She's giving birth to epileptic. She gave birth to an epileptic child. So when I went there and my dad took me to an interview, a very good girls' school. So I went and I passed. So when I came back and my stepmother said, no, I think this is too expensive school, so you need to go back home. And I said, no, what I want is education. I will go to any school, provided it is a school. I just want to go back to school. When you look at my logo, That is my logo. That is my mother and my brother at the back. Because in the process, my sick brother fell very ill and my mother had to come to Nairobi to the city for my father to take the son to school. There I had started my Form 1. And my dad physically beat up my mother just to tell her, go back to where you belong. And I told my dad that I want to go with mom. And my dad asked why. I said, because I want to help mama to carry my brother. So my father told me, choose, rest in peace, daddy. He told me, choose between two, education and your mother. And I looked at my mom and I said, I'll choose my mom. I'll help my mom to carry the brother to home. And that was the end of my education then. Because when I ran my dad call, we used to call it reverse call, where you call and then we call back. So he said, I told you to choose between your mother and education, and you chose your mother. So that was the end of it. And I became a victim of child labor because life was tough back in the village. So I told my mom, I think I'm old enough. I was 15 by then, and I said, I'm going back to Nairobi because I'm going to work. So I had to manipulate my then boss because I borrowed an ID card because 18 and below years in Kenya are minor, and I was 15, and I needed a job to do. So I went and asked my neighbor to give me her identity card. She was 33 years of age then, and I was 15. But I went, my day one when I went to that, a factory, I was very tiny petite and I was selected to be among the people who will be employed. So this man was an Asian man and he looked at the ID and he said, are you sure this is you? I said, yes, it's me, in my native language. They said, yes, it's me, so scared. So I went, the godown was open, it was so huge, I'm so naive there, but I started working. Now I was called like a writer because they asked me, can you write? Yes. I said, I'll be taking registers. So that's when I started working and I started now fending for my family. Because I remember the first salary that I got, I went to a bus stop because there was no phones to send money online. So I told Mama, you will not wait for 1.5 years for me to come back with 1,000 Kenya shillings. I am sending you money because I am already working. So I started fending for my siblings again and my mother. Along the way, I met my boyfriend. And the very first day I met him, he invited me to his house and he sexually abused me again because he raped me that very day. And I said, I'm not leaving your house. Why aren't you leaving my house? Because there's food. It was horrible, but again, I saw some beans and rice and I said, I'm not going back to where I live. I want to live in your house because there's food. Back home, people are sleeping hungry. So this is the person that I'm supposed to have a relationship, but he has already abused me. And I started living with him, being a very abusive man. I persevered because of the poverty, the level of poverty back at home. I had left the work that I was doing back because I fell sick. I got tuberculosis because it was a factory for sewing clothes, so I was inhaling a lot of dust. So my doctor said, you cannot continue working here, otherwise you will lose your life. So I went on and 3 years later, I got pregnant. And my husband beat me so badly until I got a miscarriage. And my sister-in-law manipulated me and took me to a better house because we were living in a slum area. So she was pampering me with some good food, just food so that I don't report. And I said, it's okay, because I'm living a good life. What is good life? Eating food that you cannot afford back in your home. After recovering, I came back to my husband. And life continued, being a slum area, Mathare. beatings of boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, and wives were the order of the day. It was not something shocking every day. But something came into my mind, and I remembered that day. I said, why is it that my mother was beaten? I was also beaten up. My neighbors are also being beaten up. So I started with my mother. Why was my mother beaten up? Because she was not empowered. My mother is an illiterate. She never went to school. She is not empowered. She has nothing. She has nothing to generate income. I asked my neighbor, why is your husband always beating you? Or rather, why is your boyfriend always beating you? Why can't you leave? She asked me, why aren't you leaving your marriage? Because we also hear beatings in your house. And I said, yeah, it's because of the level of poverty back home, and I don't want to go back to that poverty. So I said, what, another job? And my first salary was 4,000 Kenya shillings, and I went back to that neighbor and I told her, hey, Regina, also rest in peace, come. What skills do you think you can do so that can generate income? She said, I can plait hair. I said, yes, I got my salary. I'm going to get a small room for you to be working, to be acquiring these skills from. So that at the end of the day, you can be putting something on the table and the beatings will reduce. I told her because since I started getting my money and buying food in my house, my husband no longer beats me so badly. So I think you also need something to generate income so that you can put on the table and will reduce that. And she came to me and said, oh yes, it worked there, it worked. So there's so and so and so that also needs to work about that. And that's how I started empowering other women who are going through gender-based violence that I was going through. So the slide is meant for you because I'm working in Busia, and Busia is a county that borders Uganda. Uganda is our neighbor. So there's a lot of trucks along the way because there's custom, they need to clear, and it takes like 3 days for the trucks to be cleared. So what happens there, because also Busia is ranked number 5 in poverty level out of the 45 counties. So Busia is ranked number 5 in terms of poverty. So what happens there, men who are the truck drivers take advantage of these girls. Because these girls are on the way selling, cooking, fruit, bananas, groundnuts. So they take advantage of them in exchange of sex. They tell them, I will buy a whole basket of it so that I can give you some money to go and even buy some sanitary towels. Busia also, we have a lake whereby the men generate income out of fishing. So you find out that girls go to buy the shoes so that they can be able to exchange fish. Or rather, they give you sex, you give them sex, and then they give you fish. We call it sex for fish. So these are some of the women that I empower. And along the way, I remember today during lunchtime, yesterday, someone asked me, oh yeah, you traveled all the way from Kenya to here? Because of this, I said, yes. I see impact in conferences. Because I founded my organization the year 2010, but we've been doing a lot and no one got too used to know what we do. So when I was sharing with a friend, she said, oh yeah, you're doing an amazing job, you're doing a lot, but no one was about this. That's when I came and generated even the website, and she said, this is not enough. You can invest in conferences, but talk about what you do, and you will get support for people to help you support more. And I went to, this is my 4th travel, I went to South Africa, I went to Bangkok where I met a lady called Leah Nyalobo. And Leah Nyalobo asked me a question that I had never had in my life. That's Leah, what can I do to help? How can I help? I've had the same question today, almost going out for lunch. When Elena asked me that, I thought I didn't get her right. And she founded this, Elena Instinct Vocation, because these are the women that are graduating this month. It started last year, September. So they have skills in tailoring, because these are women that have been abused. They are survivors of gender-based violence. In Busia, we have so many retrogressive cultural practices. One of them being that wife inheritance. When your husband dies, you must be inherited by the brother or the relative who is with him. Because once you're married, they give out dowry and you own. It's like that husband owns you. So when he passes on, you are taken there. And there's also HIV, and HIV is the prevalence is so high. So the husband maybe have died because of HIV and AIDS, because they still believe that it's not HIV, it is bewitched. So it's when you tell them to go to the hospital again, it's nothing. So we're doing a lot of sensitization to create awareness on even them knowing that there is HIV and AIDS, and you can also survive with it. So this is our office in Nairobi, and we have a lot of interventions that we do. We call them 5 Ps. There's prevention, provision, prosecution, partnership, and participation. These are women that are now empowered because they were able to say no to that. Even if I don't put something on the table, you don't have to forcefully sleep with me, or you don't have to rape me. So once they say no, they are usually chased away from their homes, because they are saying you're being against what is supposed to, you are not giving your husband his conjugal rights. So about prevention, I also talked, this is what I was telling Madam, she's called Cornell. This is what we call table banking, whereby women that are survivors of gender-based violence, they contribute 100 Kenya shillings every month, and then at the end of the month, they give it to one person. One person opens up a business, a small business of selling like vegetable, tomatoes, so that they can be able to sustain their children back at home. Because these are women that are widows, some of them were chased away from their homes, and they are homeless. So these are also some of the women, again, that are being empowered in tailoring. We also support girls by taking them back to school. Child marriage is rampant in Busia. So as we started, we have empowered over 500 children. And with the help of Elena, meeting Elena, she has taken back 4 girls to school, that is last year, because we had a long list. And this year we have supported 16 of them. We have 32 awaiting. These are girls that we have rescued them from child marriage. And their parents are marrying them off willingly, just because they want to secure maybe 2 cows or 3 cows. Once the girl is around 12 age, 13 age, they feel like she's ready to go and marry off. They don't believe in girls because they know that girls are supposed to be married off and live. These are women where I said that in a baraza, I was not allowed, or rather women were not allowed to speak in front of young people like this. They say, no, we can't listen to women anymore. Women are supposed to be in the kitchen, cooking and fending for the children. So this is one of the household, a woman that was chased away, but we had to intervene because we had to talk even with the government so that they can secure her a land. So we contributed together. You can see how the solidarity, how it is, because all those are survivors of gender-based violence, and we put up a shelter for her so that she can live in with her 7 children. So this comes to the end of my presentation, and I traveled all the way from Kenya to here because I believe now in partnership. I am looking forward, maybe not from you, but maybe you know someone who can partner with us so that we empower these girls by taking them back to school. I have online about 36 of them who are pending, who are waiting and who are hoping that by the time I'm going back to Kenya, they will be going back to school come next year. Thank you very much for listening to me.